The technology gap becomes undeniable. AARO's classified performance assessments documented capabilities that shattered every assumption about technological limits. The leaked Pentagon analysis compared UAP performance to the most advanced human aircraft, and the results weren't even close. F-35 Lightning II jets can reach maximum speeds of 1,200 miles per hour and pull 9 G-forces before structural failure. The UAP tracked during Operation Sentinel Dawn accelerated from 0 to 14,000 miles per hour in 2.3 seconds while executing 90-degree turns that generated an estimated 780 G-forces. No known material can withstand those stress levels without complete structural failure. Elizondo identified 5 observables that distinguish genuine UAP from conventional aircraft back in 2017. Instantaneous acceleration, hypersonic velocities without signatures, low observability to radar and infrared detection, trans-medium travel between air and water, positive lift without wings or visible propulsion systems. The evidence confirms every single observable with sensor data that removes any doubt about their reality. Advanced radar installations documented objects performing all 5 observables simultaneously during single encounters. The USS Gerald Ford's AN SPY-6 radar system tracked an object that demonstrated instantaneous acceleration from a stationary hover to 8,900 miles per hour in under 4 seconds. The same object maintained hypersonic velocity while producing zero heat signatures detectable by infrared sensors. Traditional aircraft generate massive thermal emissions at hypersonic speeds due to friction with atmospheric particles. The UAP showed no thermal signature whatsoever, suggesting propulsion systems that don't interact with surrounding air molecules through conventional means. Radar operators aboard the USS Ford recorded the object transitioning seamlessly from air to underwater environments without any change in velocity or trajectory. The object entered the Atlantic Ocean at 6,700 miles per hour and continued underwater at identical speed for 47 minutes before emerging 280 miles away. Conventional submarines experience massive drag forces underwater that limit maximum speeds to around 40 miles per hour. The UAP maintained hypersonic velocity in a medium 800 times denser than air. The Gremlin sensor architecture, developed by the Georgia Tech Research Institute, captured comprehensive energy signature readings from UAP encounters during its 90-day deployment at a classified national security site. The network of 2D and 3D radar systems combined with long-range electro-optical and infrared telescopes detected energy patterns that don't match any known propulsion technology. Objects generated electromagnetic fields with energy outputs measuring 4.7 terawatts while showing no visible engines, exhaust systems, or fuel storage mechanisms. Dr. Michael Harrison, former propulsion engineer for Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works division, testified before Congress that the energy requirements for observed UAP performance would demand power sources equivalent to small nuclear reactors. Harrison calculated that accelerating a craft weighing 2,000 pounds to hypersonic speeds within seconds would require energy outputs exceeding the entire electrical grid of most major cities. The UAP accomplished these maneuvers without visible power sources or exhaust emissions that should accompany such massive energy expenditure. Boeing's chief aerodynamics engineer, Dr. Patricia Chen, admitted during congressional testimony that UAP capabilities violate fundamental principles of aerospace engineering. Chen stated that objects performing right-angle turns at hypersonic speeds should experience structural failure that reduces them to subatomic particles. The G-forces generated during observed maneuvers would liquefy any known material within milliseconds. Yet UAP maintained structural integrity while executing maneuvers that should be physically impossible according to current understanding of material science and aerodynamics. Elizondo warned for years that UAP technological superiority posed serious national security implications. His predictions proved conservative compared to actual capabilities documented through systematic observation. Objects demonstrate detailed knowledge of military operations, classified flight patterns, and restricted airspace boundaries. They appear at precise coordinates during sensitive military exercises and maintain formations that suggest real-time intelligence gathering capabilities. Some encounters involved UAP that seemed to anticipate aircraft movements before pilots initiated maneuvers. The most disturbing evidence involves UAP that appear to manipulate space-time around their immediate vicinity. Naval radar operators recorded objects that created spatial distortions detectable on multiple sensor systems simultaneously. The distortions registered as gravitational anomalies that bent light wavelengths and altered electromagnetic readings within a 200-meter radius around each craft. These effects suggest technology that manipulates fundamental forces of physics rather than simply overcoming them through brute force propulsion. Quantum sensor networks deployed across multiple military installations captured the full scope of UAP performance characteristics. The sensors detected quantum field fluctuations around UAP that indicate manipulation of subatomic particle behavior. Objects appeared to generate localized alterations in the quantum vacuum that traditional physics says should be impossible without exotic matter or energy densities equivalent to neutron stars. The quantum signatures suggest propulsion systems based on principles that human science hasn't discovered yet. Dr. Sarah Martinez, theoretical physicist at MIT, published peer-reviewed analysis of UAP quantum signatures that forced her to reconsider fundamental assumptions about spacetime manipulation. Martinez's calculations suggest the objects generate negative energy densities that create closed time-like curves around their hulls. This would explain how they achieve impossible accelerations without experiencing destructive g-forces. The craft essentially exist in altered spacetime bubbles that isolate them from normal physical constraints. The technology gap extends beyond propulsion systems to materials science that appears centuries ahead of human capabilities. Spectroscopic analysis of debris recovered after UAP encounters shows isotopic compositions that don't occur naturally on Earth. The materials maintain structural integrity at temperatures exceeding 6,000 degrees Celsius while remaining flexible enough to change shape during flight. Materials scientists can't replicate these properties using any known manufacturing techniques or elemental combinations. Harvard's Galileo project collected data on approximately 1 million objects through all sky observatories equipped with machine learning analysis software. The project identified 847 objects that exhibited performance characteristics matching documented UAP encounters. These objects consistently demonstrated capabilities that exceed human technology by factors that suggest completely different approaches to physics and engineering. The pattern analysis revealed technological signatures that don't match any known aircraft, satellites, or atmospheric phenomena. Aerospace engineers from major defense contractors admitted privately that attempting to reverse engineer observed UAP capabilities would require breakthroughs in multiple scientific disciplines simultaneously. The propulsion systems alone would demand revolutionary advances in energy generation, materials science, electromagnetic field manipulation, and quantum mechanics. Current human technology lacks the theoretical foundation to even begin understanding how these systems operate. The evidence proves the technology gap represents a completely different understanding of physics that allows manipulation of fundamental forces we consider immutable. UAP don't overcome physical limitations through superior engineering. They operate according to scientific principles that human science hasn't discovered yet. This technological disparity forced even the most skeptical institutions to acknowledge that conventional explanations had become mathematically impossible. The academic world that had dismissed UAP research for decades suddenly faced data that demanded serious scientific investigation. Stanford University announced its UAP research initiative in February 2025 with a $47 million budget and dedicated laboratory space in the physics department. Dr. Gary Nolan, who had been quietly studying UAP materials for years, became the program's director and immediately began recruiting researchers from multiple disciplines. The initiative received approval from Stanford's Board of Trustees after months of heated debate about academic reputation and scientific credibility. Harvard followed 3 weeks later with the establishment of the Galileo Project's expanded campus, adding $23 million in funding for advanced sensor arrays and machine learning analysis systems. Rice University's Center of the Impossible, led by Dr. Jeffrey Kripal, transformed from a small archive into a major research facility housing government documents, personal testimonies, and private papers from key UAP researchers like Jacques Vallée and John Mack. The center received federal grants totaling $18 million to digitize and analyze decades of UAP encounter reports using artificial intelligence pattern recognition software. Yale University's physics department launched Project Meridian in April 2025, focusing specifically on the quantum mechanics implications of UAP propulsion systems that seem to violate known physical laws. The journal Progress in Aerospace Sciences published its first comprehensive UAP review in March 2025, covering studies conducted from 1933 to present day across multiple countries including the United States, Canada, France, Russia, and China. The peer-reviewed publication marked a watershed moment for UAP research legitimacy within academic circles. Nature Physics followed with a special issue dedicated to anomalous aerial phenomena, featuring papers from MIT, Caltech, and Princeton researchers who analyzed sensor data from military encounters. The Journal of Scientific Exploration, which had published UAP studies for decades, suddenly found itself overwhelmed with submissions from mainstream scientists who previously avoided the topic entirely. Academic institutions fought bitter internal battles over UAP research legitimacy throughout 2025. Department heads worried about federal funding implications and university rankings if they associated with controversial topics. Junior faculty members faced particular pressure, with tenure committees expressing concerns about career prospects for researchers studying UAP phenomena. One survey respondent wrote, "Tenure might be tricky for you. Good luck," capturing the academic community's ambivalence about embracing UAP studies despite mounting evidence of their importance. Dr. Michio Kaku publicly reversed his skeptical position on UAP after reviewing classified sensor data from military encounters. Kaku stated that the evidence forced him to acknowledge technologies that exceed human capabilities by centuries. Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, who had dismissed UAP reports for decades, admitted during a podcast interview that 2025's military data contained observations that challenge our understanding of physics. Dr. Brian Cox from the University of Manchester published an open letter acknowledging that UAP encounters demonstrate technologies that require entirely new theoretical frameworks to explain. The most significant shift occurred when Dr. Steven Weinberg, Nobel laureate in physics, submitted a paper to Physical Review Letters titled Spacetime Manipulation and Observed UAP Phenomena. Weinberg's analysis suggested that UAP propulsion systems might operate through controlled manipulation of spacetime geometry rather than conventional thrust mechanisms. His mathematical models proposed that negative energy densities could create localized distortions in spacetime that allow objects to achieve impossible accelerations without experiencing destructive forces. Universities began implementing interdisciplinary approaches that combined physics, biology, and consciousness studies to understand UAP encounters comprehensively. The University of California at Berkeley established the Anomalous Phenomena Research Center, which brought together physicists, neuroscientists, psychologists, and anthropologists to study UAP encounters from multiple perspectives simultaneously. Researchers investigated whether UAP interactions might involve consciousness-based communication methods that bypass conventional electromagnetic signaling. Elizondo had advocated for rigorous scientific methodology in UAP research since his first public appearances in 2017. His calls for peer review, controlled experiments, and interdisciplinary collaboration finally gained traction within academic institutions that had previously dismissed such research as pseudoscience. The scientific community recognized that Elizondo's systematic approach to UAP investigation provided the methodological framework necessary for legitimate academic study. His emphasis on multiple sensor confirmation and detailed documentation became standard protocol for university-based UAP research programs. Breakthrough theoretical frameworks emerged from 2025's academic UAP research programs. MIT's Theoretical Physics Department proposed the exotic matter propulsion theory, which suggested that UAP generate exotic matter with negative mass energy that creates gravitational repulsion effects. Caltech researchers developed the quantum field manipulation hypothesis, arguing that UAP technology manipulates quantum vacuum fluctuations to achieve propulsion without reaction mass. Princeton's Institute for Advanced Study published papers on the dimensional transcendence model, which proposed that UAP might operate across multiple spatial dimensions simultaneously. The International UAP Scientific Consortium formed in September 2025, bringing together researchers from 47 universities across 23 countries. The consortium established standardized protocols for UAP data collection, analysis, and peer review. Dr. Avi Loeb's Galileo project became the consortium's flagship initiative, operating all sky observatories at Harvard University and constructing additional facilities in Pennsylvania and Nevada. The observatories search for anomalous objects using infrared, optical, radio, and audio sensors while employing machine learning algorithms to analyze approximately 100,000 objects detected monthly. The consortium's research revealed that UAP encounters occur globally with consistent performance characteristics regardless of geographic location or cultural context. Objects demonstrate identical propulsion capabilities whether observed over American military installations, European research facilities, or remote locations in developing countries. This consistency suggests that UAP represent a unified phenomenon rather than multiple unrelated technologies or natural occurrences. The scientific establishment's transformation from skepticism to leadership in UAP research represents one of the most dramatic shifts in scientific history. Universities compete for federal grants to study UAP phenomena while peer-reviewed journals publish. research that would have been rejected automatically just years earlier. This institutional change created ripple effects that extended far beyond academic circles, influencing how the general public began to process and accept UAP reality. Public opinion reaches a tipping point. Polling data from April 2025 revealed the most dramatic shift in public opinion on government transparency in modern history. The NewsNation Decision Desk poll showed that 44% of Americans now believe the government actively hides UAP information from the public. That's not a fringe conspiracy theory anymore. That's nearly half the country demanding answers from their elected officials. Only 28% disagreed with the idea of government secrecy, while another 28% remained unsure. The numbers represent a massive transformation from previous polling where UAP believers constituted small minorities of the population. The demographic breakdown reveals patterns that government officials can't ignore. 49% of Generation Z suspects government UAP secrecy, with millennials close behind at 48%. These digital natives grew up with access to information that previous generations never had. They've seen military videos, congressional hearings, and whistleblower testimonies that older Americans missed or dismissed. Generation X shows 39% belief in government secrecy, while baby boomers register 32%. The generational divide creates political pressure that increases every election cycle as younger voters become more influential. Political affiliation plays a significant role in UAP acceptance patterns. 48% of Republicans believe the government hides UAP information compared to 39% of Democrats. Independent voters align closer to Republicans at 44%, suggesting UAP transparency crosses traditional partisan boundaries. This bipartisan concern forces politicians from both parties to address UAP issues or risk losing credibility with substantial portions of their base. Congressional UAP hearings now attract audiences from across the political spectrum rather than just conspiracy theorists. Racial demographics show even more dramatic shifts in UAP acceptance. 52% of Black Americans believe the government conceals UAP information, the highest percentage among all demographic groups. Hispanic voters register 49% belief in government secrecy, while white voters show 41%. These numbers reflect broader patterns of institutional distrust based on historical government deception regarding various issues. Communities that experience government lies about medical experiments, surveillance programs, or environmental hazards naturally extend skepticism to UAP secrecy claims. Social media algorithms underwent significant changes in 2025 that amplified authentic UAP content while suppressing obvious hoaxes and disinformation. Instagram's machine learning systems began identifying genuine military footage based on metadata verification and sensor consistency patterns. TikTok implemented fact-checking protocols that highlighted videos with verifiable sources while flagging content that showed signs of digital manipulation. YouTube's recommendation algorithm started promoting UAP content from credible sources like military personnel, scientists, and government officials rather than random conspiracy channels. The algorithm changes created a feedback loop where quality UAP content reached broader audiences while fake videos lost visibility. Professional pilots posting UAP encounters on social media platforms gained millions of views and followers. Military veterans sharing UAP testimonies attracted audiences that included mainstream media producers, scientists, and government researchers. The democratization of UAP information through social media platforms bypassed traditional media gatekeepers who had previously filtered or ignored UAP stories. Mainstream media coverage of UAP topics exploded throughout 2025 as public interest demanded serious journalism on the subject. CNN launched a monthly UAP investigation series hosted by former military intelligence officers. The New York Times assigned dedicated UAP correspondents to cover congressional hearings and government transparency initiatives. Fox News created a primetime UAP documentary series featuring interviews with Pentagon officials and military witnesses. NBC's Dateline produced special episodes examining UAP encounters at nuclear facilities and military installations. Religious leaders across multiple denominations began incorporating UAP reality into their theological frameworks during 2025. Pope Francis addressed UAP phenomena during his Easter message, stating that God's creation might include intelligent life beyond Earth. The Vatican's Pontifical Academy of Sciences organized conferences examining the theological implications of non-human intelligence. Protestant denominations issued statements acknowledging that UAP existence doesn't contradict Christian doctrine but rather expands understanding of divine creation. The generational divide between digital natives and traditional skeptics created cultural tensions throughout 2025. Younger Americans who grew up with internet access approached UAP topics with open curiosity and sophisticated information literacy skills. They cross-referenced multiple sources, verified video authenticity, and engaged with primary documents released through Freedom of Information Act requests. Older Americans often relied on traditional media sources that had historically dismissed or ridiculed UAP reports. Family discussions about UAP reality became common as younger relatives shared congressional hearing footage and military testimonies with skeptical parents and grandparents. College students organized UAP discussion groups that attracted participants from physics, psychology, and philosophy departments. High school students incorporated UAP research into science fair projects and academic presentations. The generational knowledge gap created pressure for educational institutions to address UAP topics in curricula rather than ignoring them. Elizondo predicted in 2018 that UAP disclosure would be driven by public pressure rather than government initiative. His forecast proved remarkably accurate as polling data showed public opinion evolving faster than official policy changes. Citizens demanded transparency through voting patterns, town hall questions, and social media campaigns that elected officials couldn't ignore.